Okay, Facebook, we're live here first. As always, DK and Big B here. We are going live. Stand by.
There was a time when the world turned their back on men. Men with a dream and savage yearning within them. Legions compelled by passion that knows no boundary. A consuming flame that defies plausible explanation. Battling the forces of domestication, they find the courage to band together to experience the awesome power of being men.
I say this with all due respect.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Tonight's broadcast of the Masculine Feminist has been commandeered by the secret society No Ma'am.
Gonna go to a place like a shot and a beer, steak, man. Saying we can stop, get pancakes, and then we'll get laid, all right?
Why do you drink ice cold beer on a hot day?
Mr. Craven, what else are you gonna do with it?
To alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
The Yankees are champions of baseball. It's a power goal.
This is Cave Crew Radio.
Yeah, it sure is. Hey, we're getting some people out there in chat room. Good evening, everybody. My name is DK, and I am live from my cave in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It is great to be here. You're listening to Cave Crew Radio. Very special guest coming up in a very short time. Hey, did I tell you? We're now on Spotify. We're on one of the biggies. You can catch us over there. Anyway, not much going on. We want to get into the show, so I'm going to head over to my cohort in Queens.
Yes, I am Sir Big B live here in Queens, New York, and apparently everybody in my house has the disease that's going around.
And see, I'm
feeling
great.
Yeah, my wife has it. Both my kids have it. They're all upstairs in various forms of sleep and fever. So things are going wonderfully here.
Medicine comas.
Yeah, the little, my 2-year-old, just hit up with some baby Tylenol, so he should be sleeping hopefully. And my wife took. What is that? NyQuil, and my older son is taking just regular old cough medicine. Good times here in the
listen. I had
Sir Big B household.
I had pneumonia for 2 weeks, so I know what it's like. I'm starting to feel real again, even though we're talking zombies in a bit, folks.
Well, I'm waiting for as soon as everybody else clears up in my house, I know it's all going to hit me at once. So right. I'm going to be out on my ass for a while, I'm sure.
Yeah. And when it hits you, it's going to hit you hard.
Yeah.
You know, when I was sick, my wife was going around with like Lysol and
oh, you kidding me? My wife, even if she's got a fever, she just went to CVS and brought back Lysol and disinfectant wipes and was wiping and spraying everything in the fucking house.
I know the feeling.
I think she might have sprayed one of the dogs too. I don't know. It was just everything. She's fucking spraying and wiping and Jesus Christ, calm down. I think
Lysol would kill fleas.
Would it kill?
God, you fucking fleas.
It might. I don't know.
Never try. But here's what's going on, folks. Choo Choo Stew is, in his own words, what does he say? Working on something really, really big.
So stay tuned. So I'm here to try and sort out the confusion, take the piss out of you.
Yeah, the Choo Choo Stew soundboard from last time he disappeared.
I love the Choo Choo Stew soundboard.
Yeah, he'll join us throughout the show, but he's working on something really, really, really big. And then he's going to be back next week. And then he's going to be gone for 2 weeks doing jury duty. I just can't wait for the stories. So, but we've got some guests, which I'll talk about in a little while, joining us throughout the next few weeks. We've got some cool ones coming. But tonight, folks, we do have Jason Medina. He is trying to get into the Google. If not, we're going to give him a call. Did you message him?
I did. We're going to have to give him a call. If you go into the message, you'll
get the number. Yeah. So Big B, talk about whatever else is happening, and I will get our guest on the show, and we'll introduce them and maybe talk about what you know, and I'll fill in a minute.
Sure. Well, like I said, the major thing in this household is everybody's got some fucking fucked up disease. So and my wife is like, she turns into like this germ freak. Like I said, she got Lysol, she's got disinfectant wipes, and if she has something, she's convinced that everybody else on this planet has it too, and we all have to be quarantined. So I don't know where I'm sleeping tonight. I don't know if I'm sleeping upstairs, if I'm going to sleep here in the studio, if I'm going to sleep on the couch. I have no idea.
I'd go couch. Then you're away from the germs.
I don't, but then if the little boy wakes up, the 2-year-old, I got to run upstairs. I don't know where I'm sleeping. I should just stay up all night. Here we go.
Okay, we got him ringing here. We got it.
I feel like we're going to do a prank call.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do have our guest on the line. We promised we'd get through by hook or by sink here. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is a ghost hunter. He's the lead investigator of the Yonkers Ghost Investigators. He's written 5-6 books. His latest is the Manhattanville Incident. I said project earlier today on Facebook, but I'm thinking of that movie, I guess. But it is the Manhattanville Incident. Zombies. So we got ghost hunting. We got zombies. We got so much to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Medina.
Hello.
How are you?
What's up?
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, welcome to the show. Why don't let's start out with your writing. 5-6 books now?
Well, this is the 5th book for me.
5th, okay. With another one coming soon.
Yeah, very soon. Okay. And it turned it into 3 volumes, so it's really going to be more like 8 books.
I saw that on your post. That's got to be a massive.
It's too much for them to handle.
Now, do you just write constantly? Because how long have you been publishing?
Since 2012.
So that's really
2013. Well, yeah, 2012 was my first book.
So 5-6 years. Wow, that's like a book a year, and these are not small books, are they?
Oh no, the first book was 700 pages, and this last one was 1,089.
Wow. Let's talk about the newest one, the Manhattanville Incident. You just released that. What's that about?
It's basically 6 different stories that take place in the zombie apocalypse. It kind of leads up to it, and then it goes through the beginning up until the last story, where it goes a whole year after it had begun. And they're all in chronological order. The stories are all connected to each other. There are characters that start out in the beginning and end up going all the way to the last story.
That's cool. So it starts like when before the disease or whatever the cause.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Starts out as a potential cure for cancer.
And it gets mutated.
Yeah.
Tell us about, without, of course, giving anything away, what kind of characters are we looking at? What are the major?
Every single character pretty much is based on someone that I know. Like when I first started thinking about the story, I was working at the NYPD, and I decided I was gonna. Columbia University was making a new building, and I found out that they were gonna have underground research labs. And I was thinking that'd be a good place for a zombie apocalypse to start. And I would joke around as I should write a zombie story and make it take place right around here and use all of you guys as characters, and all the guys would laugh about it. Then I decided to actually do it.
So, folks, if you know Jason, you may very well be a character in his novel. You might be more famous, more famous than you know you are. So this was a real life thing that inspired your, like, and you're saying, so you thought of this book. You've written those You've written those 4 other books with this in the back of your head.
Yeah, I actually had started writing this while I was at work one time. I had gotten the ideas. I started writing the plots down while I was doing overtime one time for Occupy Wall Street. And we were sitting in a van, a bunch of us on overtime, and it was in the middle of the night. There was nothing going on. We were a couple of blocks away from where they were doing the demonstrating. And we would joke about them sometimes being like zombies because they would just never leave there. They wouldn't even bathe. There was people there that stunk. They just refused to leave. And they were protesting nothing, basically, because no one was paying attention to them at that point.
I'm not fucking arresting that guy.
Doing that. So we were thinking, they were like a bunch of freaking zombies. I was saying, you know what? I should just start writing my zombie book right now while I'm on overtime. So I said, I need a character's name. Quick, give me a name. And the guy next to me points to the driver of the van and says, David, because that was his partner.
Yeah.
So he threw him under the bus right away. I said, all right, David, you're the first character in my first story, and you're probably going to die. He's like, oh,
is he?
Thanks.
Is he in the book?
Oh, yeah, he's the first character in the first story.
He is the first character. So here you are in the van thinking of these stinky zombies protesting Wall Street. And then you put it away for a while because you wrote these other books.
Well, I had to do some research first because I wanted to try to make it as accurate as possible, because you watch all these zombie movies and they don't really think it through. They just put it out there for entertainment. But I mean, if you're eating and eating and eating and eating, yet you're not digesting anything, all that's going to fill up in your stomach, and eventually your stomach's going to burst.
True.
So I would think these things through, and I would think, like, how can this go where it would sound believable enough? I mean, people complain about fast zombies and slow zombies because they saw World War Z and they were happy with the book, but for some reason the movie was disappointed to them because the zombies were faster, and in the book they weren't mentioned that way. So I decided to put it in a way where I could have the fast zombies and the slow zombies to kind of please everybody with a good explanation for why they're that way. Like in my book, when you first become infected, you're not dead yet, so you're technically not a zombie. And it's more kind of like 28 days later where they're just infected and they're fast and they're kind of like rabid, like with rabies. And they're very dangerous because that's the stage where they want to spread the virus the most, because it's bacteria that's inside of them that wants to spread.
It's kind of making them go nuts. Right?
And then you got the people who become infected and then eventually their body dies. And now they become the slow zombie when they get reanimated.
So you put a lot of research into this, and do you put research like into science and
I bought a bunch of books I've been reading for a couple of years, which is why I waited a while before I started writing it.
So is this your baby? Is this the one you're most proud of?
Actually, no.
No?
I would say Ghost in New Orleans, book number 3.
Book number 3.
But I did even more research for that book.
Now, what's that one about?
That one basically, it was loosely based on me. Because when I first went to New Orleans, I was like, wow, this is a beautiful place. And we did all these tours, haunted tours and everything. I stayed at this hotel, which I researched the hotel I wanted to stay in too, and made sure I stayed at a haunted hotel. So we stayed at the Hotel Monteleone. And even on their website, they brag about being haunted. So they're not ashamed of it.
Right.
And this is a big luxury hotel right on Royal Street in the middle of the French Quarter. And it's a beautiful place. And so we stayed there. And as soon as I walked in, the first thing I saw was this showcase at the doorway in the lobby of all these books written by authors who stayed there. And I said, I want my book to be in there someday. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to have to write a book, and I'm going to have to include this hotel.
And is
So I
it
had
in there?
started doing all this research, and while we were there already on our tour, on our vacation, I'm already planning my next book. And everywhere we went, I was documenting stuff because I was in my mind and writing down little notes and thinking, I'm going to put this in my book. And that's what I did. I mean, pretty much that book has a whole bunch of things that actually happened to us, but I just exaggerated it a little bit for the story. And the character's name is Ray, kind of like my name, but Jay, but I also named it after a friend who lived down there named Ray. So he had like a little bit of his personality and a little bit of my personality. And the guy basically is a ghost hunter looking for ghosts in New Orleans, and he wants to write a book about ghosts. So,
so it really goes parallel to real life. It's like
that
fiction
story
too.
had a lot of realism to it. And he meets this girl who's a street performer. Because while I was there, I was walking by and I saw this performer performing in the street. I was thinking, oh, she's kind of pretty. And I was thinking, I wonder how many people come down here and fall for these street performers, and they want to just come by and spend their whole vacation hanging out in front of them and giving them tips. So I figured that's kind of how this is going to go for my character in the story. He's going to fall for a street performer who's just out there playing a guitar, and she gets a little distracted from his ghost hunting goal and wants to talk to her. And she tells him about a haunted house that she knows about. And she tells him this whole story about a slave girl who was actually, who was using the voodoo queen, Marie Laveau, as her mentor. So I dragged in some actual history and threw in a lot of past from New Orleans into that story, and a lot of research went into that book.
So you got quite a few vacations down to New Orleans then.
4 times.
Oh, so see, that's not so bad. Get to see you need to write a book now about Monaco or something, like Paris.
Oh, I haven't been there yet.
Well, it's an excuse, right? So New Orleans, you've got that a lot of the voodoo stuff going on. So did you do a lot of research on that, or?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that in the book. I have books all about Marie Laveau, books all about voodoo, books about the history of New Orleans. I have a timeline of the history of the French Quarter and the city of New Orleans. So I was able to use a lot of actual stuff that happened. And when I do stuff like that, I'll research and find out the weather of the day that I need to write about from the past. So my story, basically, it starts in the present, goes back into the past right around the time of the Civil War, and it catches all the way up to the 1900s, the early 1900s, before it goes back to the present again.
Now,
so there's at least 3 chapters that take place in the 1800s.
Wow. You do your research. I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah. That came from doing my paranormal research, because I got into researching haunted locations, and I would like to know as much as I could about them before we actually go and check it out, or while we're checking it out. I want to know the history of this place. And it got to the point when I want to write a book, I want to know the history of a place too, if I'm going to use a place in the book.
Well, makes sense to me. And now, go ahead, Bray.
No, I was going to say, I thinking about all this and how you were come about writing. I was thinking, let's take it back to the beginning. What inspired you to write your first book? You said you were sitting in the van by Occupy Wall Street, and you thought of this book. The current book was a good idea, but
years ago.
I mean, that's what I was going to say.
Action figures like most of us guys did, and every game was a new story, and we would make these stories that they would become sagas, to the point where I had a friend that came over one time, and he just wanted to watch me and my cousin play with our figures, because we asked him if he wanted to play with us. He said, no, I just want to watch. I'm like, okay. So he sat there and he watched us for like 2 hours, and then he went home to eat dinner. And he said, oh man, that was better than a movie. I should write this stuff down. So it got to the point when I got older, I started thinking, like, I'm going to write some of this. I'm going to actually write some of these things down someday. And I had an opportunity to look at this website about publishing books, and somebody had told me, you should make one of your stories into a book. And I said, all right, that's a good idea. So I was looking to see which stories I had written down already, and there was one that was kind of long. So I said, all right, this might be the one. And that was my second book, The Diary of Audrey Malone Frere. But obviously it didn't become my first book, because I got distracted from my ghost hunting with this place called the Kings Park Psychiatric Center. And I started doing research about this place because I wanted to explore it and check out to see if it was haunted. And I ended up finding out so much about the history of that place that it became an obsession for me that I wanted to learn more about it. And I decided my first book should be about this place. And I'm thinking, do I really want to write a history book yet, though? I think I want to just stick to writing a novel. So I decided to switch it and write a novel about it first instead, which became my first book, No Hope for the Hopeless at Kings Park. But in the process, I was also doing research for an actual history book, which is the one that's my next book coming out. And that'll be a reference book, which is going to be available at the library in Kings Park, at the library of Smithtown, at the Kings Park Heritage Museum. So it's going to be a book that a lot of people will eventually look at someday when they're researching this place.
Now,
so I had to make sure to be very thorough with the research, and it took me a few years to get that down.
It sounds like you're thorough. But
oh, yeah.
It's funny that you brought that up because I wanted to go closer to home. I noticed when I was, researching a little bit on my own that your first book was about Kings Park, and now your latest, won't be your last, is now about Kings Park. Tell us a little bit about Kings Park. What's so fascinating about it? And that's in New York, right?
Yeah, Long Island, right in Smithtown. Not too far from Stony Brook. It's across the water from it, basically. It's Suffolk County. It's basically, my friend told me about it. My friend Linda told me about it, and she knew I was looking for places to explore, to check out for haunted places, and she told me that she had gone here once years ago because her uncle used to work there, and that I should check it out. It's an abandoned psychiatric hospital in Long Island, and it had over 150 buildings. And as soon as she said that, I said, wow, 150 buildings, that's a lot of buildings. And then she said, and there's also underground tunnels, supposedly. It's like a maze down there. I'm like, okay, now you got my interest. I started doing research right away. And there were these two websites that I would constantly go to back and forth. One of them was just a blog from a guy that's a friend of mine now, Sean Hopkins. And he had this blog that I would look at, and he had all this information and pictures about the place. And then there was another website. This guy actually had the domain for KingsParkPsychiatricCenter.com. His name is Sean Hardy, and he's actually he used to go exploring all the time too, and I would get a lot of information from his website. And these guys are guys that I've been in touch with through emails so many years now because of these websites that started me out in learning about the place, to the point where I eventually got brave enough to actually go out to Kings Park and go to check out the buildings myself for the first time. And just that alone opened a whole new interest in me that I needed to know more about this place. And I figured the only place I'm going to really know more is to go to the town itself and research it there. And I decided to go to the Kings Park Heritage Museum and also the Kings Park Library. But the Heritage Museum is where I really started to learn more. I made friends with the president there, Leo Ostavo. And he pretty much took a liking to me, and we became friends, and he let me have the run of the place. I would be in there for hours and just researching, and he even let me take some materials home that I was able to scan. When he realized why I wanted to write a book about this place and that I was very serious about it, I wasn't just about going through the buildings because it was fascinating to go through the building. It was more about that I was interested in the history of the hospital and also of the town and its relation to it. And I wanted to write a book showing their connections and everything.
Now, this
so he
building,
was like, okay, yeah, do it.
This building, is it like a heritage site now, or like can you go explore?
Well, the museum?
Yeah,
the Heritage Museum is at the school, the nearby school. But the hospital, there are actually about 50 buildings left, more or less. They demolished a lot of buildings in 2012, 2013, and a couple in 2015 and 16. But there's still a good amount of buildings left.
Just
that
barren.
People
They're
do
empty.
still go there and explore and stuff. And there's a couple of buildings in particular that fascinate people the most because they're really big. The one, Building 93, is on the cover of my first book.
Yeah. But they're just empty. Like the Long Island's just, and Long Island's not a big, you think they want the property.
It's kind of empty. There were some buildings that actually still had paperwork from patients and paperwork from employees. And I actually took a lot of the paperwork that I found in one of the buildings and I brought it to the Kings Park Heritage Museum and gave it to them after I photocopied it.
Holy shit. Of course. You need it for
But I needed to use it for research. But I gave it to them because I figured that's where it should be. I kind of felt like Indiana Jones in a way, like this stuff belongs in a museum. I didn't like seeing all these patient files scattered on the floor and people just stepping on them and peeing on them and all that. It was disgraceful. I felt like these patients were kind of telling me, please tell our stories. Because I felt that way only because I went into this one particular building, which was used as for the criminally insane patients. And I was in there with a relative of mine, my nephew. And we never, ever liked to take anything from a haunted place because we would think you'd bring the spirits back home with you. It was bad karma, so we didn't do it. But for the first time ever, while I was there, I was walking around in this recreation room, and I saw these scattered chess pieces on the floor near all these patient files that me and my nephew had been reading for like the past hour. And I felt bad that these things were on the floor. These people, their stories out there for everyone to just pee on, and it was just getting wet from the rain, from the broken windows, and we were looking, and it's got their names there and everything, and we were reading about their diagnosis. The doctors were talking about them. It was going on for like a couple of months of information that was going on in these pages that were on the floor, and there were these scattered chess pieces nearby.
How old would you say they were? How old were they?
Saw one of the chess pieces, and I was like, I picked up the Black Knight, because I figured if I can find the Black Knight, that's the one I was looking for in particular for some reason. I don't even know why, but I wanted to find the Black Knight, and I figured if I could find that Black Knight, then it was meant for me to take it. And I would feel like these patients want me to be their Black Knight and tell their story. And I told my nephew, like, I found this piece, and I don't normally like to take things, and I figured I'd just let you know that I did find this, and I want to take this. And he picks up from his pocket the other Black Knight. There's only two Black Knights in the whole set. He had one and I had one. And we both were thinking kind of the same thing. Like, we both needed to find that piece. And it was weird that we both looked for that piece, because when I got home and I looked at some old pictures, I noticed one of the pictures had a banner from the Ward 61 in that building. And on either side of where it says Ward 61 was a Black Knight.
Oh, wow. All right, listen, before we go any further, I want to get into your ghost hunting and stuff like that as well. We're going to take a quick break, folks, just for a few minutes to catch our breath. And when we return, Jason will be with us still, and we'll talk about some of his adventures out there in the ghost hunting world, and a whole lot more coming up, folks. So stay with us. You are listening to Cave Crew Radio every Thursday right here on CaveCrewRadio.com, and I muted my mic too fast. We'll be right back, folks.
Well, hello, ladies and the gentlemen, and cave dwellers in general. This is Choo Choo Stew, and I'm deep in the hallows of London, England. I want you lot to stop taking a piss and join the Cave Crew Radio Facebook group, please. And while you're at it, look us up on the Twitter as well. It's not rocket science, it's actually quite easy. Just search Cave Crew Radio. Also, have you got a bit of spare change in your wallet or your bank? Because we could do with $5. It's easy on PayPal. Just go on to cavecrewradio.com and chuck some money in the tip jar. It helps keeping the dream alive, sockcuckers. So don't be silly and take the mic. Cavecrewradio.com. Fuckers.
You guessed it. It's Al the Announcer. Hey guys, I can't find where I can listen to Cave Crew Radio.
iTunes,
Stitcher, TuneIn,
Sirius XM, Mile High Radio,
I-95 Sports, Podbean,
Twitter, and Facebook.
Sorry about that. I must have passed gas. CaveCrewRadio.com. Until next time, this is Al the Announcer signing off. And remember, that's Charlie Charlie Recon. Cave Crew Radio.
Cut me a break. It's the only spooky music I could find. We're back with Jason Medina. Jason, we've talked a lot about your books, and we're going to find out in a little bit where we can order them and whatnot. Let's flip the switch a little bit here. Let's talk about the Yonkers Ghost Investigators, and you know, how did you get started in this? Is this something you were interested in when you were a cop as well?
Yeah, actually, it started when I was going home from work one time, and I was listening to a radio station, and they were talking about this road on Long Island, Sweet Hollow Road, and how it's haunted, and how people had all these weird experiences, and they were calling in and telling their stories. And I was thinking, damn, that sounds pretty cool. I think I want to go to this road someday. And I was talking to my cousins about it when they came over later that week. It was close to Halloween time, back in 2006, and we were talking about we should go check out a haunted place. So I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to put together a whole list of all the haunted locations I can find around here. And when next time you guys come over, we'll go do that. So I started doing this, and I didn't think about what I was doing at the time. I was just building this list thinking we're just going to go check out haunted places and see what happens. And one time, me and my cousin were bored, and we decided to go check out the cemetery nearby because that was one of the top places on my list since it was walking distance from my house. So we went out there. We drove, of course, because we're lazy. We drove out there, and we stand in the front, start taking pictures right away. I had my camera with me. Figured take some pictures, see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky. And I only took 14 pictures before I saw what looked like an apparition on the 14th photo floating over the graves of a girl like in a dress. And I was like, holy crap, look at this. So we're looking at this, and we were pretty impressed that we decided to come back the next day. And this time we brought another one of my cousins, and because she wanted to see when we were talking to her about it. And this time I brought a tape recorder because I figured maybe people say that they record and they get voices. So I turned on the tape recorder, an old-fashioned tape recorder. I started recording, and we're there, and I'm taking pictures again. But now my two cousins are making fun of the names on the gravestones because they're kind of long and a little hard to pronounce. So they were making fun of these names, and I told them, you know, we're trying to record this. You guys might want to not make fun of the names and at least have some respect for the dead. So they're like, all right, we're sorry. We won't do that anymore. And as soon as that happens, I've taken a picture and I see what looks like smoke rising from a tombstone. And then it moves forward towards me. And I take the picture right away. And my cousin sees it and she curses on the side. She's like, holy shit. And she's like, I saw that. Did you see that? And so now I got two witnesses, plus I saw it. Plus, I take a picture, and it's on the picture. It looks like a mushroom cloud with all these faces, including skulls, coming out of this gravestone. And on the recording that I did, you also hear, right at that moment, something going, vroom. So I got a recording, two witnesses, I saw something, and I got it on a picture. Only in the second day doing this.
You have the picture. Because
I'll tell you, on my website.
Okay, I gotta check this out, because Big B and I are skeptics. I mean, we're coming in open-minded.
Oh yeah, no, I heard.
Bit, but, I mean, until I see it, which I haven't, other than thinking I see things out of the corner of my eyes or hearing something, until I get physical proof myself. But I'm open to it. I mean, I listen to paranormal shows, and tell me though. Now, I've always asked this question. We've talked to a lot of ghost hunters and stuff, psychic, paranormals, whatever. How come we never see them in the daytime? There's never any pictures or stuff.
I've seen some books where people have pictures of some, but it's just never clear. It's never clear anytime. It's not something, I guess, that can be photographed easily. You get all these pictures and they talk about, oh, it's a great photo. I look at it like, it's really not that great. It takes a lot just for me to feel, and me being in charge of this team of paranormal investigators, yet I tend to be kind of skeptical myself. But the thing is, I do believe in it. It's just, I don't believe what everybody sees is what they think they're seeing. Sometimes I think people think they're seeing a ghost when there's an actual explanation that could be a little more logical and scientific that they're not thinking about because they're too quick to believe it's a ghost. I mean, I'm not like that. I mean, would like to think it's a ghost, but first I have to rule out the scientific and the logical before I
that's
assume it's a ghost.
and that's kind of
sound and voices. But once I feel like, okay, now I rule out everything, now maybe it is a ghost. Cool, let's go check this place out.
and that's what I see a lot of times when
to conclusions that I think it's a ghost, like some of these ghost shows that they give where they think everything is a ghost.
Yeah. Well, I want to get to that in a minute, but Big B, what were you asking?
Yeah, well, kind of along the lines of what you just ended with. Like I've watched a lot of these shows, and you know, they'll play back some videotape that they shot of just a wall, right? And they'll all of a sudden, did you hear that? No, there's nothing there, but they think there's something there. Or if it's like just a floorboard creak or something like that, there's proof that there's a ghost there. No, it's not. It's just you know, normal ambient sounds of the room.
And they're always in
The only thing
that damn green
I can
light.
believe because we've actually gone places where we've heard voices recorded. And I don't mean like these machines that say things, because yeah, that too, but that's not really 100%. We got actual recordings where there are voices saying words to us. Like mama, help me.
Did they answer a question?
We actually have recordings on our website of those things happening. Another one is someone saying hello, which was done at Kings Park. Another one of my best ones that I would say that I have, my absolute best ones, I recorded at Kings Park. And there's a old playground behind one of the buildings. And I had a recorder, digital recorder. I put it on top of the broken slide that's there. And I left it there. And we went inside the building. There was no one around at all. Except me, my cousin, me, my cousin, my nephew, and one of our friends. We were in this building. We came out of the building. We were very quiet. We were there just walking around, taking pictures, maybe crunching a couple of broken glass on the floor as we walked. We came back outside, took the recording, went home. I listened to the recorder, and there's a whole bunch of kids playing in the playground, screaming, laughing, running around, having a good time for 17 minutes straight.
But nobody was there.
Exactly.
And you have it on film?
No, on a recorder.
On a recorder.
Sound only, audio only. And that I put on my website in 3 separate recordings because it was 17 minutes. It was too long for anyone to listen to just one recording. But you can hear 17 minutes. You can hear just the segments that I saved, that I put on the website. You can hear the kids playing in the background.
Are you talking
they
the
were actually
website?
right there.
Now, the website being YonkersGhostInvestigators.com?
YonkersGhostInvestigators.com.
Okay.
And I do have, when you go across the top, there are menus. And you click on evidence section and go down to EVPs. That'll be electronic voice phenomena. And I have it in order, so just have to go down until you see, I think, what did it call? I think it's called, what did I name it? I usually put all the ones from the same place together. So I called it the Playground. There's 4 recordings, Playground 1, Playground 2, 3, and 4. And I have the slide where the recorder was resting. And the playground pictures also. I put a picture of every place where the recording was done, and then I'll put the name and put a little description of what was happening at that moment, and then you have the actual audio clip to listen to.
Now, I have a question.
I'm going to try and save this picture of the ghost. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Now, I am a true skeptic. I don't believe in any of this crap, but I will describe something that I did with a friend of mine back in the 90s to see, one, if you've heard of it, and 2, what your thoughts of it is, because even though I'm a skeptic, this really did work. A friend of mine saw something on, maybe it was something on like on Unsolved Mysteries or whatever fucking TV show back in the 90s he was watching, where you had an old CRT tube TV, and you'd hook up a video camera to it. So when you'd point the camera to the screen, you'd see like the screen within the screen, within the screen, within the screen. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So when you zoom up, right, you zoom in on that infinity screen within the screen, within the screen, eventually it turns blue and it just swirls. So you lose the image because you zoom up so far, you lose the image and it just becomes a swirl. Now this is actual, you can do this with a video camera. So what my friend saw on TV and what we did was we recorded it. We recorded, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes of this just infinity. And the idea was to, once you've done recording it, to roll it back and go frame by frame. You wouldn't just play it. You would have to go frame by frame, and you would see images of, like, people, almost images from like another dimension, kind of. I don't want to sound too hokey, but it would be almost images of another dimension where you'd see like a person, vaguely sitting on a bench, or a person by a tree or something like that. And we actually did see images as we went frame by frame. We actually did see some shit, and it was kind of freaky, and we're looking to redo this again. But is that something you've heard of and I've maybe done before?
No, that's something new to me. I never heard that you could do something like that.
Yeah, it works on, actually, a friend of my friend is trying to get a tube TV, since they don't make tube TVs anymore. But it was just, you had to use a CRT. Well, back then there was only CRT tube TVs. That's how you did it. You filmed the TV. Say that again?
You had the camera pointed at the TV screen, you said, right?
Right. You point the camera right at the TV screen. And you're live on it, right? So you see the TV within TV within the TV within and infinity. But then you zoom up on the TV to where the image is no longer, and it just becomes like a blue screen and a swirl. And then you record it. And then when you go back frame by frame, it looks like there's images coming back from it.
So why are you're skeptical to this though?
I'm skeptical in the whole ghost thing, but this is the one thing that we did that really did actually work. So we're looking to try to do it again. We did this back in 1992, 3, whatever year it was, way back when. But we started talking about it again, so we're trying to do it again. And it may be something you might want to try too, or you might want to come over when we do it. It may be something interesting.
I would like to be there when you guys do it.
Yeah, it was really, really fucking freaky, because you did see images, and it was like we kind of checked each other too. It wasn't like, did you see that? Oh yeah, I saw that. It would be, we started checking each other. What do you see? Okay, well, I see a guy standing by a tree. Yeah, I see the same thing. Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really freaky and weird.
I want to, guys, go back to the ghost hunters before we get you were talking about the TV shows. Real quick, though, folks, I did pull that picture of the smoke over the gravestone. I don't know if you have the video up or not, Jason, but I think this is the one where you said that, and there is smoke and something there, right? You see it, Big B?
I see it. It almost looks to me, being the skeptic, like I said, to me that looks like cigarette smoke in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Except nobody was smoking.
Aha.
It does look like that to me too, but no one was smoking.
Interesting. And you couldn't see this with your bare eye. It only came up on the picture.
No, I did. Right when I took the picture, I saw the smoke rising from the grave and moving towards me.
Gotcha.
I mean, it didn't move like smoke. It moved straight up and then straight to me.
Really?
And it disappeared. And I took the picture because I had the camera in my hand already.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so people in chat, take a look at that. We got a pretty full chat room out there. Hello to everyone again. I can't really see on what I'm looking, but it does kind of look like there's a face in the middle. Almost looks like someone, like a.
Yeah, I can almost see like a kind of middle-ish, more towards the left, lower left.
Yeah, there's like one right at the top, at the center.
I can see that one. It's weird. Okay.
And if you look over to the sides, there's a little bit, I would say like around the middle on the left, there's one that's like a skull.
Yeah, that's the one I see.
The eyes, the nose, and the teeth.
That's kind of like right above the second tombstone. Like there's 3 tombstones.
Yeah,
right above the second tombstone. Yeah, that I see.
Now, when you refer to orbs,
all the way on the right side at the top, there's another one that looks like it's screaming right around the center at the top on the right.
Yeah, I can get that. It looks like 2 eyes and a roundish mouth that would be screaming, kind of.
Looks sideways. I don't really.
Now, I got a recording also at the same time or something going, woo. And there shouldn't have been anything because there's no cars passing by us at that moment when I recorded that.
Now, when you talk about the orbs, you're talking about that circle there. Like I really, that I have always have a hard time with.
The orbs, I don't really take orbs too much for what people think they are. I mainly see them as camera flare, dust. I mean, if we're someplace dirty and we're walking, we're going to have dust.
Yeah.
I've seen that enough times, especially in abandoned places. There's a lot of dust. And certain cameras will pick it up a lot easier than others. Now, there was one time when I was doing a video, and I did see an orb. I was sitting in a room, not in an abandoned place, but at a hotel. And there's an orb moving by in front of me by the window while I'm sitting there in the room just doing a video, hoping that something would happen. And here it is, this little orb moving by me. It looks like a bubble. That was the only orb that I say was an actual orb that I saw. Otherwise, every other orb that I got in pictures is dust, as far as I'm concerned, or camera flare, lights reflecting.
I have two questions for you. I want to go back to these TV shows, and let's just say ghost hunters in general, as a large circle across the country, the world, not even those on TV. What percentage do you think are reputable? Do you think there's a lot of people making a bad name for the paranormal?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I would look at some of them and think, oh, they're pretty cool. But the more I looked, the more I knew, the more I started to realize there was a lot of phony crap going on. And I don't think it's really 100% their intention, but the network wants ratings. And if I was to do a ghost show, because people had told me, why don't you do a ghost show? I'm like, no, I can't, never. I'm not going to lie for TV just to get ratings. The thing is, like, we'll do, like, let's say we did 20 investigations in a row in a 10-month period, and we got nothing. Now, you can't do a TV show and do 12, 22 episodes for one season and have nothing. You have to have something, or you're not going to have any more viewers.
Right.
And a lot of times, there have been certain shows that we used to watch and we used to like that have admitted to lying to get ratings.
Now, I've heard there's
these are shows that I used to like watching, and I don't watch them anymore because I'm not going to watch it if there's just going to be a lot of fake stuff going on. The only main reason I like to watch them also was to learn about new places I could go to, and also because they would use equipment that I could buy myself and use.
Now listen. What about these places that offer tours? I've heard horror stories.
I don't like that. I don't do them.
Because
I would never do
they
it
rig
for an
things.
investigation. I would do it just to learn about the history, but then I want to go by myself to do an investigation. I mean, not by myself, but with my own team. I don't want to go with a tour group because you can't do an investigation with a tour group because there's too much talking, too much questions, too much laughing. Someone has a kid, so they're laughing and playing. And we tried that in Gettysburg, and we went to the Jenny Wade house, and it was kind of the last tour of the night, so we figured there'd be less children there, but there was still someone there with kids. And the person saw what we were doing. They saw that we were recording, and out of respect for us, the person would tell the kids, okay, guys, they're recording. Don't say anything now. Let them do a recording. And that was kind of cool that they would let us do our recording and no one would say anything. And the kid was like, oh, man, he's got that same thing Zach has in Ghost Adventures.
Everybody knows Zach.
Oh, yeah. So because of that, it helped because they knew what we were doing and they would stop and let us do it.
Now, so you're talking about the dust. I did have a question back on that too. Do you think, like, we're talking about the TV shows and the investigations and everyone has all this equipment and these green lights and it's always in the dark. How much of what people see is their mind playing tricks on them, do you think?
Definitely a lot, especially when you have someone who's amateur and doesn't know any better and they don't know cameras very well. And they're taking these pictures, not realizing like you got certain lighting conditions that are going to cause your camera to do a lot of flare effects and you're going to get orbs and stuff. And like, I'll take this picture at Kings Park. I'll go take this certain picture. I took it so many times from a certain angle, looking up at this one tall building, 93. And I would always, every single time with my camera, get this little weird color flare my camera on a picture because I'm doing it at the same angle all the time when the sun is a certain way. And I always get this picture the same way every time. It's just without fail. And it's not because it's haunted there. It's that part. I mean, it's just the angle that I'm using and the lighting, the way the sun's coming down. I always get this one flare. And my camera is a Nikon and D3100. And I always end up with these certain types of little color flares that are like purple dots with these long green lines next to them. And the first time I ever saw that, I didn't know what it was. I never had that with any of my old cameras. This was the first time I got it was with this camera, which I've had for years now. So I know the camera enough that I know what to expect at certain times. But at that time, I was like, oh, wow, look what I just got. I think I got something weird here. And I made a note of it. And then after I started to use the camera more and I got more familiar with it, I realized this was a common thing that I would get with the camera depending on the lighting conditions. And I realized it's not paranormal. It's just the way the light is reflecting on the lens.
Now, that's a good point.
It even happened in the dark. It didn't only happen because of the sun. I had the same effect inside of a dark hospital building upstate New York. So it's because the flashlight was on a reflective surface and it kind of bounced back at the camera lens and gave me that same color flare that I get.
Now you brought up, like, you know, amateurs. When an amateur goes into when you're going on a ghost hunt, or you're going into an old abandoned, you know, psych ward or something like that, you know, an amateur, you know, may expect to see something, or they're excited to see something, so they think things are what they aren't. How do you quell that emotion within yourself? Because everybody has that emotion, whether you're seasoned or you're amateur. Everybody would have that emotion, thinking, you know, oh, I'm going into this supposed haunted psych ward where there's a bunch of crazy people and a lot of, you know, strange shit happen there. You know, I can't wait to see something. How do you, you know, dampen that emotion to where you can decipher, okay, this isn't real. This is okay. This might be something, but this isn't. You know, how do you do that?
Well, you got to definitely be skeptical, at least 50% skeptical and 50% believer. And when we go there, we try to think with an open mind so that in case there's something paranormal, we're kind of ready for it. But we also try to think anything that we can possibly think that could rule out anything to show that it's actual logical sense of what's going on, as opposed to something paranormal. And if we have somebody new with us who's on the team and they don't have a lot of experience, we'll try to tell them, like, don't expect everything you see to be paranormal. I mean, keep an open mind. We tell them, like, if you hear a noise, every time we're recording, you hear a noise, mention what you hear in the background. If you hear a car driving by, mention you hear a car driving. Because we're listening to the recording later on at home, it's not going to sound like a car. It might sound like something else. So you want to make sure you know you're documenting every single sound you hear. You're crunching as you're walking. You hear your feet crunching on broken glass and on broken tiles. You're walking on asbestos and you're kicking it up in the air. You got these masks on, so it's hard to hear. It's hard to see. You can't breathe right, so you're breathing because you have this mask protecting your face from asbestos because you're inside of a place where there's asbestos dust floating all over the place. You take a picture, you see all these dots in the air and these orbs, but it's really just powder from the asbestos that you're kicking up as you walk. Right. And then you're breathing crazy, so you're listening to your recording that you do later on, and you hear this weird sound, and you don't realize it was your breathing in the recording that's coming out. Because that happened with one of our guys, one of our team members. He's breathing funny, and he's recording, and he hears this sound, and he keeps recording. And we're listening to the video, or when we're watching the video later, we realize it's his breathing.
Yeah. Well,
he's wearing the mask.
At least you realize that.
Funny,
now, I have another question for you. How much of your experience, you know, being a cop, you obviously have to investigate, and I'm sure they teach you a lot. Have you brought a lot of that forward into your?
Because I try to think of each place almost like a crime scene, and I try not to disturb it by having too many people ruining my crime scene, which is why I don't like to take people with us. They always want to come with us to a haunted place, and I don't want to take anybody with me. So if you're hearing me now, anyone who's my friend, don't ask me to take you someplace haunted. I don't want to take you, really. I'll be nice about it, but I don't want to take you because it ruins any chance of us getting investigation, any kind of evidence. I mean, because they're talking to us. They're asking questions. They're looking around. They're making all this noise. They're touching things. And they might not be as respectful as we try to be.
Let me sum it up for you, Jason.
To the dead. We don't disrespect the dead in any way whatsoever, no matter where we go. We don't destroy anything when I go somewhere. I've gone to these abandoned hospitals. I see people have thrown things off the rooftops. It's disgraceful. So we treat these places with respect, like they're all, I don't know.
So all Jason's
like they're all
friends.
shrines. They're all shrines to people who have died there.
Listen, all Jason's friends can just, go to hell and read the book. Buy the book and buy a T-shirt while you're at it.
I mean, you want to go there, go there. I mean, we'll go there for friends, but don't expect an investigation to happen because it's not going to.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you what.
We're talking about it being a shrine and to the dead, they need respect. Don't disturb them. Have you ever come across anything evil, anything that's really scared the shit out of you?
Oh, man. Honestly, no. I mean, we've been places where I had team members that are not team members anymore that have gotten recordings in places where we've got nothing but good vibes and good recordings, nothing negative ever. But I had team members that came with us who would get recordings like "Get out."
I was wondering if they ever you're in my house.
But
like imagine
never
someone
to
walking.
us. I mean, never to me, never to my wife, never to my nephew. It was always very positive stuff. I mean, we've never had anything negative to the point where we felt scared. We've gone to so many places. We've gone to places that are supposedly the most haunted places in the world, the most haunted places in America, New Orleans, certain places in New York City, underground tunnels of abandoned hospitals, cemeteries, Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, all kinds of places. And never did we get anything negative anywhere in any of these places. There'll be somebody, they'll tell us about a place, like if you go there, this happens, and I guarantee you won't stay there longer than a half an hour. I said, I bet you I could sleep there and nothing would happen. Because that happened. I mean, even a relative of ours, of me and my wife, would tell us that there was these things that would happen to them there, but we would go there, and the most we've ever gotten was a recording that sounded like a growl.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only kind of negative that we got.
Yeah, but not just negative.
Nothing happens to us that's negative. I mean, we've never had anything follow us home to the point where things were bad happening at home now. Although one of our team members said that it happened to her, and she stopped being on the team because of it.
Now, do you believe in good spirits and say demons or bad spirits or evil? Do you believe you could bring back evil if you don't know what you're doing?
Definitely. I mean, I don't doubt that it happens because so many people have had things that they say have happened to them that were negative. But I mean, because I don't know all of these people and they say these things and they're on TV or on websites, I'm sure half of them are full of shit and the other half are probably, I don't know, they're probably not all there in the head and maybe they need medication and they're not taking it.
No,
but I mean, I would say there's a small percentage of that actually happens where there's something actually negative happening to somebody, an evil spirit that might be haunting someone and terrorizing them. I do know of somebody where that happened to them and they were constantly being raped by an evil spirit to the point where they eventually died, and it was never resolved how that happened or what was happening to that person.
Now
I never got to actually meet that person. That is just someone I know of.
So you believe that you could be in an investigation, and if you're weak or receptive or
I'm not really weak, but well.
No. I'm not saying you're weak. I'm saying if the person's weak, do you think they can take the spirit with them? Do you think the ghost would attach and
maybe vulnerable is a better word than weak?
Vulnerable, yeah. Okay, so if you're vulnerable, do you think a ghost would actually leave their spot, their home, let's say, and go with someone?
It's definitely possible. I mean, I believe that it's happened to some of my team members where stuff has gone home with them after an investigation. Like even here at my house, I have a 2-family house and my parents live below me. There have been times when we've gone on investigations and we would come back and we would go about our business, go to sleep, wake up, go to the next day. But my mother would experience stuff downstairs. And she would say, "What did you bring home?" Because she would feel like something touching her while she's lying down, sitting on the sofa.
Now, see, that would make me
a
believe.
question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. Actually, I hear go now. Anyway, you know, as far as like the media, not the media, but like, you know, TV shows and movies and everything, like to make it out that all these spirits are evil, and that's what gets ratings, right? But in your experience, obviously you said you haven't felt really evil spirits around you. In your experience, are they welcoming, or are they just like kind of you're in the same place but in two different, you know, dimensions, kind of, where they kind of sit there and don't know where you're there, they're just existing?
That's a good question. Are they in the same dimension as, like, where do they actually reside? Again, this is obviously your opinion, but are they in our dimension?
That's something that we've set out to try to show. I mean, to show that they actually do reside somewhere, that they exist somewhere, for people like Big B to try to at least have an open mind that they do exist, by showing that we have proven that we've got voices recorded. We have pictures of things that shouldn't be there when they're there. We have sometimes, I mean, personal experiences you can't really prove. It's just a matter of how much you trust that person, how much you believe that person.
But what is it?
Is
it another dimension like Big B was leading into, or are they just invisible, or what's your theory?
It's possible there could be like in a different dimension. I mean, I don't really know. I wish I knew, but maybe they're here with us, and we just, because they don't really exist the same way we exist anymore. Now it's just a spirit, and there's just no essence to it. It's just invisible.
But in your experience,
and the energy just tries to show itself and manifest any way it can. Sometimes through a voice, sometimes through a word spoken through a machine, sometimes through an action of something that happens, or maybe just occasionally they can try to muster up enough energy to actually appear and show themselves.
So I guess that's kind of what I was getting at. In your experience, are they aware that you're there, or are they just existing in their own
definitely
world?
There's definitely some that, well, I know people have said that there are some hauntings that are just residual, where it just kind of goes like a recording and just keeps playing back over and over, the same thing happening. But there have been intelligent ones that we've actually communicated with, because we've gone to places like the Shanley Hotel, and we've gotten recordings where they're interacting with us, talking to us. And also at Untermeyer Park in Yonkers, where there was one spirit calling out to my wife and saying, "Mama." And she tells me, "I think I heard something." And we try to listen, and we're trying to see if we can get something else to happen again. And it ended up saying again, "Mama," the second time, right after, because it felt like maybe she didn't hear it right the first time. So it said it again with more emphasis. It was like, "Mama."
Really?
And the funny thing, that somebody that we know told us that they went through there when they went to Elizabeth Seton School, and they were walking to Untermeyer Park back in the 80s, and they experienced something weird at that same exact spot, where they heard a voice saying "Mama." And it was funny because they didn't even know about the recordings that we had.
I have a question.
Have exactly the same thing being said in the same exact spot.
Now, you keep saying, "We got this on recording. We got this on recording." So
yeah, every time I say that, it's on our website.
No, I believe you. I'm not doubting the recording, but my question is, again, are you hearing it as it's recording?
When you do a recording with a recorder, if you plug in the headset to it while you're recording, it enhances everything you hear around you. But it can be very, very distracting, because every sound you hear is super loud.
Right.
Now, the thing is, like, my wife was wearing the headset at the time that she heard "Mama," which is why she told me, "Wait, I think I just heard something." But she wasn't sure what she heard. So we were listening, and she said, "I heard something again, but I can't tell what it was. So when we go home later, we'll check it." And we could hear it more clearly on the computer with the volume fully blasted. And we could hear it said "Mama." Right after she said, "I think I heard something," she said, and it says "Mama." I mean, sorry, right before she said it. And the second time we're listening, and I'm saying, "Are you sure it wasn't a deer?" Because we saw a deer walking by, and they kind of sound like babies crying when the deers make noise. If it's a young deer, if you ever heard one, it sounds almost like a baby crying. Because we have recordings where we thought it was someone crying in the cemetery, and it turns out there was deer nearby. And,
I have one more
but
question.
you hear the voice again saying "Mama." And another time when she was actually interacting with a spirit at the Shanley Hotel, it was supposed to be a little girl who died there across the street in a well. And she was 3 years old, going on 4, and she fell in the well across the street. And she was the first recording I ever got there, this little girl running around, yelling and screaming while there were no kids there at all. And I had this girl running around and yelling and screaming. And I had gone there with my wife. Another time, I'd gone there multiple times, gotten lots of things there. And lots of evidence there. And she was one time when she was awake by herself and I was still sleeping. She's recording in this one room where the little girl supposedly had her room. And she's playing with these dolls that are there for the girl. And she's saying, "What do you want this doll to be called?" And you hear a voice going, "Mama." And it's very monotone.
Wow.
But it's responding to her question intelligently.
So they do respond sometimes. That was an earlier question. Now here. So we're talking about the little girl, the various, ghosts that you have encountered and got on tape on the website. Do you believe, because a common philosophy is, the person is passed, and we're not going to debate religion or anything that right now, but do you believe that ghosts have not crossed? They haven't seen the light, to coin a movie phrase, but do you believe that's the truth?
I mean, I guess in a way, it's really hard for me to say the truth because I don't know, but there are people who claim that they had experiences where they almost died, near-death experiences, and they always say that they saw a light that they didn't go to.
Yeah, no,
So the light thing, I guess, comes from that. People having those kind of experiences, but
I'm just wondering if
I would like to think that eventually some people that die do pass on in some way. I don't know, to heaven or wherever, but because we don't know where they really go when they die, because none of us have actually experienced it. But they go wherever they go, and maybe some of them are actually resting peacefully and are just gone forever. While maybe some of them who maybe weren't ready to die might be lingering on because they have unfinished business.
That's what I'm getting at.
Kind of what happened in my second book. I kind of did that in the second book, where I had a spirit who had unfinished business, which is why that story takes place.
Yeah, I've heard that story many times, and that, because there can't. I don't know how many people have died in the world, like 80 billion. There's obviously
so many.
Yeah.
There would be so many spirits that it'd be kind of crowded.
We'd be going nuts, but
and I should be getting evidence left and right.
For sure, we all would be. I'm just waiting for I have to see something. But anyway, look, Jason, we're winding down here a little bit, and I want to give you a chance to, first of all, tell everybody, where they can find you. If you want to give your social medias, your webpage again, where people can order these books, and go ahead with that now.
All right. Well, I got for the books, the website I have is www.jasonmedina, my name, JASONMEDINA, tribalpublications.com. Jason Medina, tribalpublications.com. Tribal Publications is not an actual publication company. It's me. It's my company.
That's your
my private thing. Everything that I've ever created since I was a little kid, I always wrote Tribal Publications on it. So I try to keep the tradition and put it in all my books.
Nice.
It actually, it means nothing. It is, except to me. I always wanted to have my own company, I guess, when I was a kid, and this is it. It doesn't actually exist.
Just before you give your website.
I threw it on the website because it's personal to me. But on that website, there's a section for novels and a section for other books. Okay. Novels will be all the novels that I have. You can click on novels, and you'll see the page directly for sales, and you'll see it'll take you to Amazon website, Barnes & Noble's website, and also to the publisher. The books are all bought through there. Now, to get books through me, you got to actually just go through me personally. But to get books through my website, I actually link it to the publisher, through Amazon, and to BarnesandNoble.com. And other books would be books like my history reference books, like Ghosts and Legends of Yonkers, which is a pretty popular book that I did in 2015, locally popular at least. They still have it at the Barnes & Noble here in Yonkers. They always have a copy because I sold over 100 copies in that first month.
Nice.
And Kings Park book that I have will be also listed under other books because it's also a reference book and not an actual novel.
Now, Jason, just so you know, too, I will put these links in the show notes. So within like
it's so long, no one's going to remember it.
Yeah. So within 2 or 3 days, folks, if you come back to cavecrewradio.com and hit the past shows, I will put all the links to Jason that you can go investigate these EVPs and pictures and whatnot. So what's the other website for the ghost hunting?
So that one is a little easier, just www.YonkersGhostInvestigators.com.
Yes, we'll put that on the way page.
And there'll be there's an evidence page there where you can see evidence that we've had. I mean, I have to actually update it. There's some new stuff that I have to add there. Just been real busy with these last 2 books. They sucked up like 2 years of my life.
Understandable.
So I'm going to have to go out and get these books now. My interest is piqued.
See,
as you know, being say that again.
They're good stories, at least, and I can sign them for you.
Yeah, but definitely, I would love to have signed copies of these books for sure, and my interest is piqued. And I'll tell you, if you want to, we'll work this out, separately, obviously. But when we get together, when me and my friend get together and do the video thing that I was talking about, if you want to come down and document that, as part of your it's not really ghost hunting, I guess, but if you want to document it, you can. We'll work out the details, but we're definitely going to do this sometime in the very near future.
And just so you know, I know a lot of show hosts and stuff like that, and another guy that does a show, I'll message it to you. Would like to have you come on there too, so some more exposure for you. All right, Jason.
Talk about books or talk about the ghost hunting?
Yeah, I've had a great time tonight. I mean, even though I say I don't believe, I'm a skeptic, it's because I haven't seen anything. Doesn't mean that I don't keep an open mind. I love talking about this stuff. And the cool thing about you, I got to give you credit, because I'm not going to say I've interviewed thousands, but Big B and I have talked to paranormal people, ghost hunters, Bigfoot hunters. We've talked to them all. And the cool thing about you is you refuse to say something unless you're 100% conviction in it. And I appreciate that, because you say, well, I don't know, or that's definitely not an orb, or like 90% it's not real. And when you're honest like that, I think it tends to pique the interest of the skeptical people.
And it lends itself to
research something and check it properly before I say without a doubt that's what it is.
And it lends itself to it makes it more valid, makes your argument more valid, right? If you're saying, you yourself are saying, this isn't real, but this could be. All right, well, maybe I'll take more interest in what could be then, because you're actually being honest about what's not real.
Yeah. And on that topic, I mean, I also can tell, by the way, when we were talking about your books at the beginning in the first segment, everything, I didn't want to do this book until I was finished my research. And folks, that makes for a great book, because even though it's lending itself to fiction, the research of the buildings and the history and the characters, it makes a better story in my experience.
Absolutely.
And in my first book, I actually threw in some actual patient experience and combined it with my fictional characters, and made it so that my fictional character was good friends with a girl who was actually a patient there. And I mixed her story with my character story and made it seem more realistic, because a lot of people who read my first book love that story the most, the first story, Amanda. And that story was based loosely on a ghost story that I heard, along with an actual patient story who was there, from a patient who I also mentioned in the new book that I have, which is coming out about Kings Park.
I might have to go. I might have to go get a few of these books myself, because just the way you explain the heart and soul you put into it is amazing. Jason, I hate to cut short, but we're getting close to that time. where we're going to wrap things up here ourselves. I just want to say thank you. Love to have you back again sometime. And
yeah, hopefully I can actually log in with the headset this time.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's not letting me.
We can. Don't worry about it. You came through loud and clear. I've been putting pictures of your books and stuff up.
Yeah, I'm watching on the YouTube.
But we really appreciate it. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people that, even authors sometimes I find are they're just, I don't buy into what they're saying about their books, and I don't want to buy it. It's so canned. Their answers are all canned. You did a great job, and once the podcast is up, I'll let you know in case people want to listen again or if they missed us.
That'd be cool.
All right, my friend. Big B, anything else?
No, we'll definitely be in contact when we get a firm date on the video thing that what I described before. We're working on getting a tube TV. They're very hard to find nowadays, but we're working to get a tube TV. And this has been in the works for a couple of weeks now. So as soon as we get a date, I'll let you know. It's most likely going to be on Tuesday when I do the metal show, because that's how we originated it. We're going to do it on that show. You want to come down, you want to document it, we'll work it out. You come hang out and we'll see what happens.
All right.
I'm Jason, free all the time. I'm retired.
Yeah. Jason, again, thank you. You had a pretty good crowd in chat. There's a lot of people streaming on the audio portion on the radio, and be sure to tell everybody. We'll let you know when the podcast is up.
They're screaming at me for telling them they can't come with us to a haunted place. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah. That's recorded. And guess what, Jason? It's going to be on the website.
I will ask this before we go.
I don't mind bringing certain people sometimes if they're contributing to the experience.
You're backtracking now.
I will ask this. Never mind. Fuck everybody else.
A lot of family ask constantly, "Can I go with you there?" Like, no, you can't. I tell them no. I tell them.
I will ask you this. I will ask to go on one of them for investigative reports for Cave Crew Radio.
That would
I would definitely take you for that reason, and plus because you're skeptical,
I
would try to make you a believer.
Perfect. Yep. So we'll work it out. I will attempt, as long as you allow, I will go on one of these ghost hunting adventures.
I already know where I can take you.
There you go. See, we could work it out, and then I will bring it back here to Cave Crew Radio and see what we find.
Maybe we'll put a GoPro.
And if you find nothing, so be it.
That's it.
At least you're honest. Anyway, Jason, we got to shoot. Thanks again. We'll have you back. Take care.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Now, Big B, if you did that, you would definitely have to have like a GoPro camera on your head throughout the whole thing.
Oh, I have a GoPro. I would definitely film it if I went. Sure. For the show to report back for this show, of course.
The Cave Crew Radio, and then I have to figure out. I've done it once. I played that video of Stu and CJ chugging the beer, and we could play it on the show and maybe freeze it down. And who knows? Sure. You should go to that graveyard where the smoke came out.
Well, I gotta work it out with Jason. Whenever they're gonna go somewhere, I'll go with them and see what we can find.
I honestly tonight I was going to play what would you rather? Sorry, but I again, and I'm sure you agree. As a skeptic, I'm not sure I buy into it. I looked at that picture. Yeah, it looked like I was seeing some faces. I haven't had a chance to listen to the EVPs, but I will. But the way he presents his case, both in his writing and in his ghost hunting, how he justifies his thinking, I give him full credit, and I think this is one of the better paranormal better author interviews I've had.
Absolutely. Like you said, both of us are skeptics, but his honesty about it is what piques my interest in what he's doing, because he will say, he's not going to say everything is a ghost. he will separate. Or no, this is camera flare, or camera dust that the camera picked up. This isn't real. This isn't anything. This might be something. Well, if that might be something, okay, I'll look further into it because of your honesty.
Right. Because I know if you don't believe, you're going to tell us.
Right.
And and that's why I brought it up a while ago. It's the cop in him that is that investigative and needing proof before you can convict. He sounds like he was an honest cop.
Yeah.
Al in the chat room is saying that St. Joseph Cemetery in Yonkers is where the faces and smoke were. The lady in white, he says.
One question I wanted to ask him was he the best student in his high school? Did his high school teachers like him because of his investigative skills? I mean, he investigated everything for these books. I can only imagine what he did in high school for like assignments and shit.
Yeah. And not just the books, right? When he was talking about investigating different places, he would say, I researched everything, not just the true history, but he researched the ghost stories. And so he knew what he was looking for. Whether or not he found it, that's another question.
And that's the good thing, right? He's formulating his own opinion. He's not basing his opinion on what everybody else says. He's getting his own opinion of it.
And I also think, that's why I was talking. I mean, because of the radio and the podcasts I've done, I have so many ghost hunters and paranormal people, and I see their posts, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and they're trying to be so commercial about it. It's all a buck. Right? It's like people that do what we do. Yeah, we want to make money from it if we could, but we're here because we like it. We're interested in it, and we try to put out a good product to our best of our ability. Yeah. And that's how, I think there's so many ghost hunters and shit that just give the whole industry, if that's what you want to call it, a bad name. And those TV shows, right?
Yeah, that all those I like the Discovery Channel, and I like this Discovery Channel sub channels, but when stuff like this, it's all about ratings. So they're gonna accentuate stuff that's not real, but might be scary or whatever, just to get more ratings out of it. It's stuff like what Jason does is at least to me more real, more believable, and something I would look into further than something that I see on Discovery Channel.
Because he also said he could go 10 months, 20 investigations, like 2 a month, and come up with nothing. Right. And who would watch that on fucking TV, right? You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking to you, he's like the Trump of ghost hunting, calling them the fake news.
Nice.
If you parlay it that way. Anyway, listen, we're going soon. Let you mention your show in a minute, but just want to talk about a few things, guys. Sure. We have I want to bring up another photo, but we've decided this year we're going to try and meet more interesting people. We're going to have more guests on, be it funny, be it educational, whatever it is, whatever we come across. So next week, just pull this up on the screen here. And next week, our special announcement is one of my favorite shows. Just listen to it this week again. Both the Brorons from the Brorons podcast will be with us live. They do a show, so they should be on camera. But yeah, Big D and Little R. Check out the Brorons podcast in the meantime. And they're going to be with us next week. And I'll tell you, Big B, they kind of fit us like a glove. They're a comedy show. They also, always have weird stories. They do skits. It's a fun show. They're down in Tennessee, and I think they'll go well. So they'll have to bring some stories of their own, and it'll be fun. Two I'm going to call next week When Worlds Collide.
Nice.
Bro Rons and Cave Crew Radio. And then also,
are we gonna have the Battle of the Bigs? Because you got
Battle of
Big
the
B
Bigs.
over there and I'm Big
really
B.
confusing because Big B and Big D, and it sounds so similar. So we might just have to call you Sir Big B for the entire show.
I will accept that.
Yeah, because we got the only one that's a standout name is Choo Choo Stew. It's right. Big B, DK, Big D, and Little R. Like fucking Sesame Street of uncut radio podcast.
Is Choo Choo Stew going to be with us next week?
He will be with us
next
week. Hopefully with an announcement on his big project. And then after that, he's got 2 weeks of jury duty. And he doesn't know, how long the jury duty. I can't wait to hear those stories though. But real quick before we cut out. Also, there's another guy. It's called the Who's Right podcast. Doug. I don't have a date yet, but he does stories, and his catchline is "Headline Says," and so he'll be with us coming up in the near future. I can't give you dates. And then this one I'm really excited for because people are always asking us, "Do prank calls? Do prank calls? Do prank calls?" Well, Brad Carter is going to be on the show at some point. He is the host of the Snowplow Show, and he is the best prank caller in the world. So we'll talk to him about his experiences and how he got into this. But hopefully, folks, we'll make some calls.
Nice.
So lots to look forward to.
Maybe Pierre Lacroix will make an appearance.
Yes. Maybe he can, and maybe he can critique our calls and give us some tips.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Tell us about the other show.
Every Tuesday night, live at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Cave Crew Radio, is Metal Thunder Radio. We play 2 hours of kick-ass metal, maybe a guest or two here or there. We'll have Jason on when we do our little fucking video thing. But yes, every Tuesday night live at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on Cave Crew Radio, replayed on Mile High Radio every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and 102.7 WSNR every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. And not just that, folks. It's not just metal and even interviews. As a group, they just have conversation in between the music, and that's always what caught me. There's hundreds, thousands of music shows out there, but these guys are a blast. So check.
We are drunken dumbasses, so you can listen to us drunkenly talk about nonsensical stuff for 2 hours.
So if you like heavy metal and you like to laugh and you like to drink, it's all good. Here's what's going on with Cave Crew Radio. Of course, we can be heard in podcast form if you never make it live. Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Sirius XM, Catch Up, all over the place. We're also on the Podcast Radio Network Saturdays at 8. Mile High Radio Sundays at 5, all times Eastern, and I-95 Sports Mondays at 9 o'clock. So you can catch us all over the place as well. I also want to say our other show, my other show that I take part in, Distraction Point, has been kind of in a hiatus for a short time. We will be making our return this weekend on Sunday, so watch for that. Other than that, great show.
I have a question for you.
What's that?
I have a question for you.
Oh, let's end with the question.
What's going on with Tangent City? You're a recurring character on Tangent City. I'm still waiting for my invitation, but
I've told him, and here's what's going on. He made like a 5-part, and that's the end of the first season or series or whatever. It will be back in I believe the end of March, middle of March. And also look, I'm going to be on Orchid Grove, which is another audio drama. So, and speaking of the Bro-Rons, the other show Big D has is called Smoke and Mirrors. I am the voice in the entrance, so I'm spreading my wings.
Look at you,
spreading my wings.
Nice.
Anyway, folks, we will catch you next week. Choo Choo Stew should be back. The Bro-Rons on the show. Things are going to get a little bit crazier than this week. But I don't know about you. I had a good time. I learned a lot and had fun. So until next time, kids.
Are we naming the show?
What's that?
Are we naming the show?
I guess we can, but I was just thinking with special guest Jason Medina.
That's fine. That works for me.
Do you have a name?
I was thinking of one. You're trying to come up with one, but that's fine. Special guest Jason Medina. He stole the show tonight.
Yeah, I honestly I didn't do anything. But if you could, what would you say? I mean, don't leave me fucking hanging now.
I was thinking the ghost, something to the effect of the ghost and the orb.
Okay, well, that's good. But I like Jason Medina.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Big B. I'll catch you next week. Same time, same channel. Be good. Tell a friend about us.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!